coming up in this episode.
If you, as an individual, you want to solve a problem, you have 40% chance of solving a problem. If you take someone like you, two of you, you want to solve a problem, you have a 52% chance of solving a problem. If you find someone completely opposite than you have 75% of solving the problem.
I know we've kind of talked about this a little bit already, but just for those that are listening that have made it this far, well done if you have. Congratulations on getting it this far into the episode. But yeah, what I like to do is just ask my guests, in this case it is you, what would your tips be to anyone listening who maybe has an idea, like you did a couple of years ago, and just needs to know where to start? What advice would you give them?
To do it.
Brilliant. All right. Well, look, it's been nice speaking to you.
The Founders Unplugged podcast, hosted by Greg McCallum. Raw, uncensored conversations with startup founders.
Hi, Gregory.
Hi, Michael. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. And you?
Yeah, I'm very well, thanks. Very well. It's good to see you again. It's been a while.
Good to see you too. Yes. When was last summer, probably?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Long time ago. Yeah. Happy New Year.
Thanks. You too. Yeah. Pleasure to be here and have a chat with you. Excited about. So are you? I don't know how is. I've been following you for some times now. Is sometimes I'm not following you. How you keep doing these interviews with founders? How is going?
Yeah, really good. Yeah, I mean, they're every week. Every week, every Sunday over the Christmas and New Year period, we had a couple. Like they were on Wednesday because obviously Christmas and New Year was falling on like Sundays, Mondays, and stuff like that. So it was just a bit not a great time to release. But yeah, every week, and we're on episodes 25 of season 2 now. That's been released. It's coming out this coming Sunday. By the time this comes out, it will be further on into the year. So yeah, it's going well, and that's just among all the other stuff I'm doing. So yeah, busy. But thank you for asking. That's very kind of you to ask. So yeah, man. How about things with you? By the way, just so you know, we've already started. So this is just like we just go straight into it.
Okay.
So how are things going with you? Tell me about you.
Yeah, pretty good. We can start. I think there are different things that I'm also working on. So,
okay.
As you know, my background is in advertising and marketing. Be working in the last 10 years with different production company, advertising agency. So still doing this work as a filmmaker, creative, videographer, editor. And in the meantime, we have, since we started working with immersive technology, we noticed that there is a gap in the market and the need for a platform that help agency and brand to create a campaign within immersive platform like Roblox, Fortnite, and using different technologies. So we basically start to build Immerzo. There, as you know, is a B2B platform that connect creator with gaming and metaverse creators, so allow branded agency to give different tools to manage their campaign at scale through the platform. So it's an effective tool for them. And now we have a beta version of the platform.
Oh wow, fantastic.
Yeah, so we have we're starting to see traction. So we gain 6 letters of intent. We have 1,000 creator on database, 200 on the waiting list. So it's gaining momentum now.
That's brilliant.
We're really excited about that. Also, because
I'm just going to share my screen while you're talking as well, so people can see your
website.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fantastic. Because last time we spoke, this you hadn't got to that stage yet of
No.
betas, so that's brilliant. You were just building up the waiting list. I remember you were saying so.
Yeah, exactly. And so, of course, now that we also have a beta version, there is much more interest on the product. People are, excited about what we are doing, and we starting to gain in much more companies signing up to our waiting list. So yeah, and here where we are basically.
Very exciting, very exciting. Yeah. And I'll put the link to your website and your LinkedIn profile and everything in the description of this episode. So that's fantastic. So I mean, it's super interesting because this is something that I think a lot of marketers, creators, and even like these sort of game companies and experience companies, I guess you want to call them, have been trying to figure out for a very long time. So what do you think was kind of like the missing piece to bring this together, to make this work?
Yeah, I think our product is for brand and agency. So my experience was inside of agency when Meta changed the name from Facebook to Meta. There was really an hype, and companies they don't know what to do, right? So, and I think will happen the same thing with the Vision Pro, Apple Vision Pro that's coming in February. So our tools will help this brand agency to manage all this campaign. So it's there where we are tapping into.
Yeah. I mean, so what you were saying about you've got quite a good waiting list at the moment for creators. Where are these sort of what types of creators are they mainly?
Mainly are Roblox creator, Fortnite creator.
Oh, really? Okay. So when you mean creators in that context, you mean like streamers predominantly?
No, we target creators that create immersive experience, immersive games. So basically,
oh right, okay,
creators that create Roblox game.
Right.
Yeah, or AR lenses on Snapchat, or basically indie game developers.
Yeah.
But
so like using the Roblox engine or the Unreal Fortnite engine to build experiences. Yeah. Right, I'm with you. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, super interesting.
We target who has a large following of user base.
Brilliant. And so, I mean, prior to this, I suppose there probably wasn't much in terms of options for monetization or marketing or partnerships. Like, what are the options now for a creator like that? I mean, would it be a lot more manual, a lot more sort of having to message people and try and book meetings and things like that, I suppose, right?
Yeah, exactly. They have to do it manually, or now I think Roblox as well introduce some monetization for creator through the advertising system. But apart from that, there were no other solution that would help them to monetize.
Yeah.
So this is also where is our product want to help them to monetize them creation.
Yeah.
And also, well, yeah, I think, yeah, there are products like Fever or People Per Hour, but they are not specific for the industry. So with the industry need of this kind of creator, right?
Yeah. It's very specific. And I suppose, at the end of the day, these are creative people, right? So they don't really have the time or necessarily the knowledge on how to go about doing something like this. on their own. So having someone to hold their hand and a platform to help with that, I suppose, is massively important, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, well, cool. I mean, it's really exciting. I'm glad to hear that you're at this stage now. That's brilliant. So look, you mentioned a moment ago about your background being in marketing. Do you mind taking me back a little bit? And because I remember when you first met, you kind of told me a lot more about sort of your past and what led to this point. I'm interested to hear kind of the story there, and then all the way up to what gave you the idea, and then how you went about getting that idea out there. Because obviously the people who listen to this show are founders, entrepreneurs like you. I think hearing that story is always massively interesting. So can you take us back? Take a time travel a little bit.
Time travel. Well, where we want to go.
Wherever you want to take us, man. You're in control. You're driving the time machine.
Yeah, but my career started in marketing advertising started when I arrived in London, so 2012.
Okay.
Back then, so I started filming skateboarding. I start filming through skateboarding, so with friends. Really started as a passion, and I really get passionate about this medium and the way that you could communicate and express your creativity. And I saw a big world that you could express through filmmaking, and I did different courses back home in Italy about post-production, After Effects, Premiere Pro. And then I moved here to London to study filmmaking at the Central Film School. And after that is where I started. My career started with working with small brands, fashion brands. I was working part-time on a restaurant. So the beginning, it was pretty challenging, also adapting into the London lifestyle, but slowly building my portfolio with much more important job. And since then, I started to work with agency and bigger brand, and I start to really travel the world around, working for major brand like Fiat, Pirelli, DJI, Nike, a lot of car advertising, and working also closely with agency. And I also always been passionate to experiment with this medium, right? So this is how I get in touch with virtual reality, augmented reality, metaverse. Back in 2015, I create different immersive experience and 360-degree video for a fashion designer, and there was the beginning of let's say they're looking more into this kind of technology. So after that, I think for some times I went back fully into marketing advertising. I didn't use for some times VR, augmented reality, until I saw that this medium is going to be mainstream really soon. So, and find out that brand and agencies, as I told you, that were the need of this platform to help them manage this kind of campaign. And then I started basically in the journey with Immerzo.
Yeah, that's interesting. So when you came to the UK to study filmmaking, was the intention always to go into advertising and marketing, or did you have ambitions to actually go into filmmaking, like movies or feature films or anything like that? Or did you not know? Yeah. You just think I love just the medium. I'll see what happens.
No. I've been also working in feature film, short film. So also narrative. I've been working also in narrative.
Oh, you have? Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So you have a broad experience from short video content to long format.
That's also
narrative.
Yeah, no, but there's so many things there that you've said that I want to ask about. So I'll try and do without forgetting. But like one thing that was really interesting that you mentioned there about some of the brands that are kind of getting really interested in metaverse. I don't know, is that still a term that people care about now, metaverse? It feels like that was a really popular term and now not so much.
Yeah.
Still use it? I don't know.
Yeah, no, I agree. There's been a hype last year.
Yeah.
Hype, and then it went even too hype.
Yeah. And now everyone's a bit sick of the term metaverse. I think we're just happy with virtual experiences or something like that.
I think the term is still being used in the industry, or also in the advertising industry, is still being used.
I think the problem with it was it came with a lot of like promises that in reality are not very far away, but far away. And so it created this hype of like, oh wow, the metaverse is here because everyone's talking about it. And then when you peel back the layers, like, oh right, no, not at all. Like there's still a lot that needs to be done first. So I think that was it was like this excitement and then disappointment, which is why so many people are kind of like, all right, metaverse, whatever. Like it's still AR, it's still VR, it's still very much separate and compartmentalized. We're not going to see an actual metaverse for some time. That's what I think happened. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, no, you are right. You're perfectly right. I agree with what you're saying. And now we have spatial computing with the Apple Vision Pro, right?
Yeah.
They don't want to be called VR, AR, and mixed reality, but they want to be called spatial computing.
Oh, is that their term? Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's Apple. They can't use any terms that anyone else uses, right? That's literally their branding guidelines. So, make shit up. That's basically what they do. Yeah. But no, it's really interesting because you mentioned about working with Nike and those sort of brands. I found it quite incredible how shoe brands of all the brands in the world have embraced a mixed reality sort of more than most. Like it's crazy. Why shoe brands of all of the brands? But I suppose there's something quite interesting in apparel in terms of its association with the metaverse, because it's a shoe is a relatively easy thing to design in 3D space compared to something that has fabrics and moves and so on. And I suppose that there's that sort of that NFT potential, right?
Yeah, there are a lot of use case as well on NFTs that can be associated with shoes. And what I think as well is because you can actually have the digital version of your shoes, and you can actually wear them into a virtual space.
Yeah. In certain experiences, yeah. That's really, I think, what the NFT thing as well is was part of that promise. It felt like of you'll be able to not only experience the metaverse, which didn't happen, but also move items from one virtual experience to another. And I think that was something that really excited me, particularly with the use of Web3 and NFTs and so on. And I was a little bit disappointed to find out that is way more complex than I think people were making it out to be.
What do you mean, the interoperability of
certain digital assets between some platforms and others? I mean, look, I think we'll get there, but it's just going to be a lot longer than people maybe made it seem like it would be. For now, people are a bit disappointed to find out the NFT they've spent £10,000 on is stuck on open seas and they can't do anything with it. It's like, what's the point of that? But who knows what the future might hold, right?
I think anyways there are, as there are hype cycles, so it's normal that we go through the hype cycle, and then but the real adoption of the technology is another curve, right? a different curve than the hype. So
what do you think is going to be the next sort of potential? Are you seeing any trends that lead you to an idea of what the next big hype thing might be within this space?
Within Metaverse, or
within this sort of area of Metaverse, the virtual experiences space, I guess.
Well, I think I need to think a bit more on that. But definitely, what we have been seeing is generative AI into 3D assets creation. So that is definitely is one of the big use case that is gonna be adopt. What I see as well in the environment that I am is generative advertising. So that basically use generative AI to create advertisement in base of cookies for target user. That are two main use cases that I see that is gonna evolve. That.
So you mean like to leverage that to create personalized advertising experiences for an individual, basically based on their attributes, whether their shopping history or even personality attributes and things like that. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, exactly. And that would be also used to create 3D immersive advertising.
Right.
So that can be generate using generative AI targeted to that individual. And that definitely. What I also see is because it's gonna drop a lot with generative AI. The entry point for creating 3D assets. So now you need a 3D artist, right, to create. And already now with generative AI, there are some companies that they are creating 3D assets by text to 3D assets. So there is gonna be a wave of immersive content that before it wouldn't be possible. Just specialized people would create that. So that there is also why we are also building Immerzo, right? Because we see that coming really soon in the next 2 to 5 years horizon, a really increase of 3D immersive experiences, 3D content, AR content, because the accessibility is going to drop a lot.
Yeah. And it's crazy to think about that, because even now, I suppose for people who aren't in this space, it's very difficult to wrap your head around. But even now, on something like Roblox or Fortnite, when you look at the community created content that's already there is so much, or something like Minecraft, for example, there is so much. So, and these are done by people who have a pretty good skill set and the time and the patience to invest in doing that, right? So imagine if you can just click a button and do that, how much more content there's going to be. I think, it's going to end up in a kind of a content paralysis kind of situation, I think, for most users of these platforms, because I think there already is that to a degree, but it's going to become even more so. It's going to be super interesting. I saw a demo. Sorry.
What do you mean by content paralysis?
Like the overabundance of choice. We kind of see that already with, or maybe a little less so in recent months, but we definitely saw in recent years that the same thing with streaming services, for example, where there was just so much content, combined with things like TikTok, Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts, and so on, where for consumers it's it's an overload. It's like, there isn't really it's kind of no surprise when you think about it that the long form versions of content are becoming less popular with the younger generation, and they're going after short form because there's so much content to consume. It's like, I don't want to have to be responsible to make the decision of what I'm going to be doing for the next couple of hours because there's too much choice. I'd rather just, look at something short and move on with my life, and it's a similar kind of thing I think that we're going to find with the immersive experiences space or virtual experiences space, when the entry point is, when the friction is kind of removed for more people to be able to access it, essentially, not just gamers, right? Which it kind of is now. It's like, when it's made more common just to have virtual experiences, you're going to have the same thing. And especially if everyone can also create, just like TikTok, it's like everyone can be on there, but also everyone can create. It's very good for democratization, but it also means you have this paralysis effect, I think, from a lot of people. It's a pro and a con together. It's fine. But yeah, it's super interesting. But I saw a demo a little while ago for something that blew my mind, which was entire level generative AI. Like, basically, someone just described a level of a game, and the entire thing, like a huge map, was generated, all with very detailed 3D assets and things. It took a while, but it's. Yeah, I think you're right. That definitely is the next big thing. What do you think about sort of the implementation of this in terms of sort of generative AI with NPCs and those kinds of experiences? Like, that's super interesting too, isn't it?
Yeah, of course. In NVIDIA already, as you probably saw as well, demo that they are doing. So that will definitely be also a big thing. I am a little scared of the potential of use for advertising purposes, because imagine what you can do in a virtual world that can be built, customized for selling you a product, right?
Yeah.
And how this non-playable character, they could assume to persuade you to help sell them the product, right?
They just keep coming up to you and just whispering Coca-Cola like that every 5 minutes until you're just like, what? Nokia.
Yeah. You have just old people around you. They are just gonna be
buy a Tesla, just like ruining your entire experience. Yeah. And then of course there's other implications too, which are political, right? I mean, it's one thing to think about the encouraging of purchasing a product, but it's another to think about the coercion or encouragement to vote for a certain person or to have a political view in a certain way and things like that. That's another thing that I don't think we're talking about enough when it comes to these ideas. Who's making the game and what political views do they hold, and are they going to embed that in any way into their game? I mean, we're already seeing that with content anyway, I suppose.
Yeah, and on platform, the same thing that is happening on on platform like Instagram.
Well, and even major Hollywood productions, right? I mean, their politics is all over them, very openly.
Yeah. No, one thing that came to my mind while you were speaking is, imagine that in really soon we could hold this conversation all in a virtual environment, right? In a hyper-realistic environment where also other people could join as well. Yeah. So we will not see each other on through this screen, but we will have our own avatar, and we could move around, interact through a 3D space, and there are already some demo of, I don't know if you watched this interview,
Lex Friedman and Mark Zuckerberg.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely amazing. I loved that interview. Yeah.
So, and that was,
I want that now. That was like a take my money. That was like, take my money. I don't
imagine that in to use it is gonna be it's just the beginning.
Yeah.
You know, yeah. Imagine in a couple of years, 5 year time, what it's gonna be. You know, we are gonna be speaking, in a hyper realistic environment. I can, really almost feel everything, right?
It's super interesting though, because it throws up something else, which again I'm not hearing many people talk about. But in order to have that experience, they had to do 3D scans of themselves, right? To be in, a very detailed 3D scan, the details of the pores. They had to basically go through what a lot of Hollywood productions do in order to create by moving their face in different ways and things like that. Now, obviously, that technology is going to get quicker. It's going to be able to use AI to make a lot of assumptions about the details of the face and movement. So you'll probably end up with, and I think he even mentioned in the interview that they're just doing it with the phone. So you'll just be able to do it with your phone at some point, and then you're in. It begs the question, what about the sort of ownership of that 3D representation of yourself? And what are the implications of that? What if someone steals it? What if someone uses it without your permission? What if someone there's a lot of stuff there which I think is going to throw up a lot of really interesting problems for us to solve, legally and kind of morally, which is super interesting. Because what if someone steals your digital avatar and creates porn using it? Right? Things like that. There's a lot of rights does that have? That's
there are all new regulation that they have to come up with all this new technology. Yeah.
But it is very exciting as well. Like, I would love the to be able to hold these kinds of conversations in that environment and have like a virtual audience and stuff like that. An infinite virtual audience in an auditorium, and that would be amazing. Absolutely.
Yeah. Super exciting. Are you looking for the Vision Pro?
I am, but just like with all technology, I don't get too ahead of myself. I need to see reviews. I need to see, that kind of stuff. I want to get it was the same with the Quest 2. I still haven't bought one because I'm the reviews haven't made me go, do you know what? It's worth upgrading from Quest 1 to Quest 2. It just, not yet. So I'm going to see how that goes and then decide. But what about you? How do you feel about it?
I'm more the early adopters. I like to jump into new technology. So I'm really excited about. I'm only concerned about the entry price. It's a bit expensive at the moment. So I will probably have to consider, but I think.
But that's not unusual for enterprise solutions to be so expensive. I mean, there are current VR solutions on the market that are like 10,000 a headset and stuff. Like, it's not unusual, is it?
No, in fact, but I think for our business as well, would be necessary to purchase a couple of them. So
for sure. Yeah. I mean, I probably will get one, to be honest, but I just want to make sure, because the other thing as well is what a lot of these companies tend to do is they'll release the version, then like a few months later, a year later, they'll release a pro version or a slightly updated version, like PlayStation Pro, that kind of thing. And I just think I'd rather wait for the slightly updated version where they've ironed out some of those bugs. And make slight improvements. Otherwise, I'll just be sat there in 6 months going, for fuck's sake, I should have waited and just bought that. You know what I mean? So that's kind of what I think about it sometimes. But yeah, it is exciting. The pass-through stuff is what gets me most excited, actually, for a lot of these headsets these days.
Yeah, me too. Also, I think there are a lot of application for businesses as well that at the moment I don't think we are actually leveraging, right? Because if you have a fully remote team, this immersive technology allow you to meet your team in a virtual environment and give opportunity to be more connected with your team, right? Even if you are 1,000 miles away, and that make the difference, right? to a team when working together. So that definitely we would like to use that kind of for our team as well.
Yeah,
so meeting. We are actually now no every week, but we do like a monthly meeting on Spatial. So where with do you know Spatial?
Yeah.
So we meet there. We actually interact through the avatar. So and even that, you feel more connected with the other people, even if you are just using your screen through your avatar and be there with your colleague. So you feel a much different experience than much more connected experience than through the screen, right?
Yeah. 100%. And I've used similar things before with other teams that I've ran or been a part of. And there's something interesting about it too, which is that, you know, people connect well through play, right? And games. Like that's a very good way for people to connect and to break down boundaries and all that. And the great thing about these experiences is there's an automatic element of play built into them, right? Because it's something new, it's something exciting, it's something different. So because of that, people are like, oh wow, this is cool, like this. And so straight away, all of the barriers fall down, everyone relaxes a little bit, and you know, and behaves a bit more childlike, I think, a little bit, which is automatically like just a great way of getting everyone to socialize. So yeah, I agree 100%. I've actually been thinking a lot in the last couple of months about putting on some events in the metaverse myself, and ways of bringing people together and just having fun, and maybe even trying to do something like this, but in like a virtual auditorium that people can come and visit. So I think it's a great idea, and I think you're right. People aren't making the most out of it, especially with remote teams, because everyone's got a remote team these days. So why not?
Yeah, I don't think we are leveraging that. People, I don't think they realize, but it's a big use case.
Yeah, 100%. Because one of the big things people talk about again and again and again with remote teams is how to keep people motivated, how to keep company culture built. It's like the tool is right there. Use it.
There are. I mean, even, you know, of course, depends on the size of the team, but you could, I mean, now, this is also the cost as well of the headset, you know. So if you think now they still, you know, to have a full team in headset is a huge expense.
For headsets, but like you said, a lot of these don't need headsets. You can just use mouse and keyboard, go on. You know, that's what I did in a lot of the ones I used. Only a couple of us had headsets. And then also I suggested to some of the people in the team at the time, like, you know, to get those cardboard things to just put your phone in. Do that, and you can get a little controller. I was like, and we sent them to like 20 quid. You know, it's better than nothing.
It works.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, I think it's I mean, having this conversation has reminded me I really need to think about actually organizing something for this year for that, because I think it's a great idea. Tell me about.
Let me know if we can organize something together. Could be thing, because in fact also for Immerzo we have planned to create an event, a metaverse event, where we invite expert and creator as well. There will be the true side brand and the creator. We actually already have a 3D environment for that.
Oh, really? Awesome.
Yeah. So
would you do it in Spatial or something else?
I think Spatial is a good platform for that. They are pretty good what they are doing now. So they have a lot of good functionality. They allow to create a good event.
Yeah, I'd probably look, because there was something else I was using before. Was it Frame? I think I was using before. Frame, I think it was. Can't remember 100% now. Frame VR. Yeah, framevr.io is what I was using before. It was a very early stage startup at the time, so I wanted to support them anyway. But yeah, but I have to look back at Spatial because it's been a while since I've had a look.
Yeah, no, they keep pulling out new feature, so they are pretty. They take out always new updates, so I think is a pretty good platform.
Yeah, I'll let you know about that for sure, because if it's definitely something I've wanted to do for a long time. Even if it would just be like a test and be like, hey, I'm going to be online in this room for like the next 2 hours. Come and say hello, and just see how many people actually engage with it. I think that could be pretty cool, you know.
Yeah. Actually, yeah.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. So tell me about the team. So you mentioned about your team being sort of distributed. So whereabouts are they, and how big is the team?
So we are mainly now. Of course, we have me and my co-founder Kai. There's the technical side. He lives in between London and Canada.
Right.
So we also do meet, but not so regularly. So this is what I'm saying about having some conversation through Spatial, and then we have a junior software developer and a marketing assistant, and we have a couple of freelancer around the world, basically. Yeah.
And what's you mentioned that you've built the beta now. So what stage is the company at technically? Is it still pre-seed?
Yeah, pre-seed. Yeah.
So do you mind me asking about funding? How have you managed to get the funds to build this?
Now we are bootstrapping.
Right.
Yeah. So mainly through my filmmaking and marketing job. So there's that, because I have a production company. So mainly investing from my previous company into Immerzo until this stage, and we will soon start to fundraising process.
Oh, okay. Are you planning on doing that this year?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. My plan is we want to get into an accelerator and then leverage that to the fundraising.
Okay. Have you got your eye on any particular accelerators that you're looking at the moment? Ones that you would really
we're
like?
looking at Founder Factory.
Right. Yeah, they're a good one.
Do you know them?
I know of them. I don't know them personally, but I know
okay.
of them. Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. So in terms of, sorry, just to go back a little bit again. So because I know we're kind of all over the place, but this is just the way my brain works. So I want to ask you about really quickly a random question. You mentioned about filmmaking, and you did filmmaking for a little bit. Who are your favorite directors? Because I always like asking people this. I think you can tell a lot about a person by their favorite directors. So who are your favorite directors?
Gaspar Noé is one of my best director. Stanley Kubrick.
Yeah.
Francis Ford Coppola, of course, with my surname.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what's your genre? Because Italy has a really interesting background in film. Like, you know, I don't know an enormous amount about film, so I'm not gonna pretend like I know everything. But from what I do know about film, I know Italy has a really interesting relationship with horror, like a really interesting relationship with the way that it approaches horror very differently. That has kind of been stolen by the US, kind of in the 70s a little, and into the 80s. Like, what's your relationship with those kind of genres?
I'm a bit more of experimental filmmaker, so I like a bit more of experimenting. This is why as well I went into VR. So I like Gaspar Noé a lot, because Enter the Void example would be a good example as well. In is kind of non-linear narrative. Another another filmmaker that I also like a lot, Francis Ford Coppola, with most of his films. So I like to experiment different narration. So it's not always linear what I like to do.
What is it about that non-linear storytelling that you like so much, that appeals to you so much?
It's basically because it's more close to our brain process information. So sometimes can be a bit more of a POV experience, a point of view experience than traditionally filmmaking narrative. So as well as our thought are, as you said, as you just said, are more disorganized. And I like to express that into my filmmaking, right? So that it can be, much non-linear, right? Like the traditional filmmaking is, between point A, point B. Normally, you maybe have different ways of starting the story. Yes, well, you can have at the beginning, telling the end, but normally they have this linear storytelling, while my approach can be more as a more similar to human mind experience. So with more disorganized thought and experiences.
So because of that, is your interest more on? Do you use that to focus more on particular character, or is it just to kind of create the visual representation of that experience? It's not that. What I mean by that is your interest then in trying to tell the story from a perspective of one of the characters or a number of characters through that idea of kind of disorganized thought? Or is it more just the presentation of the narrative as a whole?
If you are enjoying this episode and want to support the show, please like and subscribe with notifications turned on.
If that makes sense.
Can you say again? Sorry.
Yeah, I don't. It doesn't matter. It wasn't a very well-formed question. What I mean is, like, because of what I think of when you mention that is, it makes me think of character, right? So a character who's trying to show the narrative through a character's experience or interpretation. So maybe a disorganized, or trying to create that real POV, like you said, through that. So I'm curious to know, like, do you see that as is that the way you generally approach it, more from trying to put it out that way to enforce the character, or is it more just as a presentation style for the movie, regardless of any specific characters? Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I've been testing different approach, so it's not always that way.
Right.
But so it's not always that approach. I've been, doing much more linear narration, like traditional filmmaking. So it's not that I'm just working with that kind of style. Point of view.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, it wasn't a very good question. I was just being curious, and it sounded better in my head. Yeah. Look, I think in a different life, the reason why I'm asking questions about this is because I think in a different life, I probably would have wanted to become a somehow involved in film. I think that's always been a huge passion of mine, but for whatever reason, just never. I think, to be honest, I think it's because when I was a kid growing up, for me there was only two kind of areas that you could be involved in film, and that would be an actor or special effects. And I didn't realize until many years later, like, oh, there's literally thousands of different ways of being involved in that industry. And by that point it was like, oh, it's too late. It's too late, I've missed the boat, kind of thing. But yeah, special effects fascinate me endlessly as well. CGI and practical effects and all that. That's hugely interesting. So yeah. So
yeah, really exciting industry, really creative, and so yeah, this is why I really like I still really like expressing the way how we express through the filmmaking and his own language is really fascinating. You can really work with there is so much into it, right? From the pre-production to the production, the post-production, from the script writing, the director of photography, there is a lot, so many components that you have to keep in mind when creating a movie that are really mind-blowing, right? And that they make it also pretty exciting.
Yeah, definitely. I was going to say that I think that's the exciting thing about it. I think it's the same reason. It's the same energy as to why people are interested in startups, because there's this kind of chaos associated with it that's just addictive. To try and someone posted the other day, like, founders are chaos wranglers. We're trying to wrangle a herd of chaos and keep it under control. Like, that's basically what it. And I get the same impression a lot of the time with filmmaking, where you do get your Stanley Kubricks of the world who are very meticulous in trying to ensure that the chaos doesn't come outside of the boundaries. But really, it's a very huge machine that has a lot of very tiny, delicate parts. And if one breaks, the whole thing's fucked, basically. It's hugely exciting. Yeah. In fact, I remember saying years ago, I was speaking to a colleague of mine years ago, this is before the pandemic, talking about the future of remote work. And I've said for a long time that this would be probably the future of the way things go. And he was, I don't know. I said, look at filmmaking. Every movie that's ever made is something that pops up. It's basically an entire organization that pops up into existence overnight, right? It does its work. A lot of elements of it are remote, from people going out scouting locations to post-production, pre-production, visual effects, etc. And then when the project's finished, it's all gone. Like it comes into existence for a year, 2 years, and then it disappears. And everyone involved, some might still work together, but most people go on to entirely new projects. Like, that is kind of mind-blowing when you think about it like that. When you think about the complexity that it takes to bring people together to focus on delivering a project of scale, and talking about how long it takes to build a startup and all that. They do this in a year. It's crazy. And manage budgets of anywhere ranging from like $1 million to 500 million, and it comes and then it goes. That's crazy. It shouldn't work. It shouldn't. It's like a bumblebee. It just shouldn't fucking work. And then but somehow it works. It's crazy.
No, it's really exciting. It's really exciting. Well, one thing that now I'm transitioning more into tech world and more on the management side, and losing a bit of the creative side. You have to. What I find it difficult that you have to change mentality. You have to adapt. It's a different. It's different, right? There is a way of thinking, but it's different as well from being a filmmaker of short film and advertising than be a filmmaker of long format narrative. So there is a switch on the mind that you have to make to adapt to this format, as well when you go into maybe a startup world or building a startup. Is another different way of that you have to think differently. So and I find they also really interested in this new way of approaching. There's a bit more based on data, approaching. Instead, the filmmaking is much more creative, right? You are more based on emotion. You have to be really consider on the emotion that you expressing through the cinematography, the character. We are not talking a lot about data, or forecast, where the startup board is all more about text, data, and prediction, right?
Well, I suppose it depends on what we're talking about. If we're talking about Hollywood, then I think it probably is very similar to that, like, the startup world in that sense. And that's probably why I think a lot of people are falling out of love with Hollywood, because it is becoming quite cold and calculated, and we very much feel like a customer, right? Whereas I think in the earlier days of cinema, especially in the golden age, and maybe even up until like the mid 2000s, late 2000s, we've at least felt like we were treated intelligently by most of the movies that came out. And now I think audiences are feeling like they're treated like idiots by a lot of the movies that come out. And I think I have a prediction for you, a bold prediction. I think that now is probably the best time to become an independent filmmaker. Now, because in the next couple of years, sorry, my alarm's gone. In the next couple of years, I honestly predict that people are going to gravitate more to film, to independent movie makers, to film that isn't being released widely in cinemas, but maybe locally, where you'll probably find you'll have local filmmakers who become popular in their local area, maybe even streaming things online in like virtual cinemas and things like that. I think that is the direction it's going in, because people are falling out of love with the big Hollywood blockbuster. Honestly, I think that's what's happening. I think people are sick of people want something more artistic with some integrity.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. What do you think? Am I talking shit, or does that make sense?
Yeah, I think you are right. There is definitely. I see what you mean. I'm not that completely sure.
Think about it like music, right? When you tend to have these waves of soulless boy bands and girl bands that have been put together by the industry and shoved in everyone's faces as products, and the airwaves are just full of music that sounds the same and is homogenized and so on, then there's usually a cultural uprising the sort of generation or two after that to say, we don't want that shit. We want something real. We want something honest. We want something artistic. And I have a feeling we're seeing that happen now with movies. Again, because it has happened throughout history, I think, a couple of times.
Probably not just in moving, every content.
In everything. Yeah, in everything. In art in general, I think. When art becomes too productized and commercialized, then the generations behind push back and say, well, we want it to be real again. And then what becomes real becomes more productized and commercialized. And it cycles, of course. But I think we've never seen, probably due to the rise of the superhero movie and how, these multiverse things took over, we've never seen it, I think, at this scale in movie before. To a point where people are now, I think, just pushing back. And also the sort of the political agendas being pushed in everyone's faces. I don't think we've ever seen it to this scale before. So I think there's going to be a huge wave coming after that.
In fact, is what at Immerzo we are doing, right? We are empowering creator for them content. Is that in fact is that the principle, as we could adapt AI to create content or automate content creation. Instead, we are we want to incentivize creator on create them content, and keep it original. So that is the whole idea.
That's an interesting point to bring up, because I mean that it's another exact area where I think it's important that people are going to want that authenticity, both in virtual experiences wherever possible for real human connection, but also through things like AI and marketing. We already see that within marketing, the best kind of marketing tends to be influencer marketing, right? Because there's it's personality driven, it's people driven, and so on. So it makes sense that trend follows through on all these other things that are coming up.
Yeah, because instead of through the ads, the effectiveness is much lower. We know that, right? So
Mm-hmm. So with your filmmaking, do you write your own stuff as well? Like, how involved have you been in these projects that you've done in the past in terms of like short films and things like that?
Yeah. Project that I've been writing by myself. Project that I've been working. I've been working from writer director to cinematographer, editor.
You've done it all. Yeah.
Camera operator. I've been working a lot of many different roles. I always like to explore different positions as well. And it's such an incredibly exciting process that I wanted to explore. So give me the ability to as well to control it better, right? Because you experience, what are the difficulties on each of the process. And so I've been doing some project from just myself, everything. So, and other project where I've been writing, directing, and I've been having a crew from small crew to up to 35 people, probably crew, by myself, and then work on different major production from independent indie film as a camera operator and cinematographer to commercial. Yeah.
Have you got any stuff online that people can go to and I can check out after this?
Yeah. You can go at michaelcoppola.co.uk. You can, even.
Cool. So I'm interested to know a bit about. Remind me again. What year did you first come up with the concept for the platform?
It was end of 2021.
Okay. Right.
Yeah.
So a few years. So what's that journey been like? Take me through that. Like, from having the idea to getting things moving. What were the first sort of steps that you took to getting the idea from your head, in motion, as it were?
First of all, I was already reading. I like to read different industry report. So from mainly advertising and metaverse, VR. This so previously was more into the advertising marketing side. So what that it were. The idea come from because understanding the huge potential of the creator economy and combining with the emerging metaverse marketing and metaverse expansion, we putting them together, right? So if you think about the trajectory of Metaverse is expected to grow to 800 billion by 2027. If you consider the creator economy and the potential of metaverse influencer and creator marketing, they are 11 times more effective than ads. Combining this together is you did Immerzo, right?
Yeah.
And coming from a background of working with a brand and agency, this is where we are at, right?
So what were those first steps? What were the first steps that you took to start bringing this to life?
Researching into the topic, researching competitors. First of all, so who are the competitors, what they are doing in the space. There is a gap in the market. So mainly that focusing on research was the first step. And after that, it was speaking with the industry expert. So I've been researching with expert in the field, so asking advice on the project, on the feasibility of the project, and from there was to put everything on a paper. So basically creating a pitch deck, and with that to speak with as many people as possible in the industry, to understand as well some feedback from outside world. So where basically what they thought about the concept, and if they were feasible. So also speaking with both marketing expert and technical expert. So bringing on board some advisor that could help me advise on the how to build the company and the project, and keeping learning on how to build a startup. So a lot of webinar, a lot of tutorial, and one of the main key, it was to build the team for that. So I've been looking for someone to work with me along on the project, as I'm not a software developer. Technical, I needed a technical co-founder. So I've been looking for a co-founder, and then build together the rest. So the first step was that, to look for a technical co-founder.
Yeah. So that's interesting. I mean, essentially what you went through there is the idea validation stage, right? First of all, you go out to the world. Is this idea that I have good? Basically.
Yeah.
Did you find throughout that process that your initial concept changed much based on the people you were speaking to and the feedback, or has it stayed pretty much solid throughout?
No, I think it's been changing a lot, many times. I think there's been an evolution on the concept.
That would be. I think it would be worrying if it didn't, right?
Yes.
So that's good. Yeah. And how did you go about finding your co-founder? Because this is something that I'm sure and I hear all the time of founders who are non-technical, have an idea, they're given the advice to go and find a technical co-founder, and it is very difficult to do for a lot of people. How did you find that experience, and how did you go about it?
It's been difficult, but as the project was evolving, it was always easier. There was always more people interested. So I keep going. I kept looking. I kept building, even without a co-founder, technical co-founder. So until it was becoming more and more people interested, there's been an evolution in the research. At the beginning, of course, nobody was interested of this this crazy idea, but as the project was evolving, there were much more. As you build traction, your focus as well evolve as well. You are much more focused on a bit. The beginning, I think it was more chaotic. The idea, there were many different things, so maybe it wasn't clear. As soon as I evolved the idea personally as well, and how I was communicating the idea, it was much more easier to approach people. So it's been a big journey, a long journey. There is a long process that takes time to refining as well the communication of your idea, because people don't it's difficult to really communicate your idea. So as I started, it was, as I said, a big mess, and then you understand that you have to be much more clear and effective on the communication of your idea, to be much more simple, much more clear, crystal clear, simple, no using many words. So and that will evolve over time. So as I evolve as well. So then you have much more people interested. And I use a lot LinkedIn for that. I think one of the best tools to connect with professional in the space. So
it's interesting you say that as well, that you know, throughout that experience, you know, you found that talking about your idea to people more and more and more gave you a level of traction. Now, I think that's so interesting because there is kind of like pre-traction, you know, like traction in terms of having users or revenue or whatever, which most people associate. But actually getting traction on an idea is so important. And a lot of founders I speak to are terrified to tell anyone their idea outside of like a very close net of people, either because they're worried that the idea will be stolen, they're worried that they'll be told that the idea is stupid, or, you know, something like they're just, you know, worried for whatever reason. They're just nervous. And I think you're proof, as are many, many other founders, that that is not a good idea. you should absolutely share your ideas with as many people as possible, because actually the criticism and the feedback and all of that is really, really important to help you build, like you said, the evolution of the concept, the messaging, everything, you know. Do you find that there's a lot of parallels between that experience you've gone through the last couple of years with Immerzo and filmmaking, in the sense that you have an initial idea and it takes some time to evolve that idea and also find the tools to communicate that vision with other stakeholders to then bring them in to bringing the project to life? Do you find that there's that experience has been valuable to you into now this?
I mean, it's been different, I would say. Yeah,
Right.
As I said, is different. Is
But it must be a useful skill set to move over in some ways, right?
Yes, probably yes, but I don't know. Probably on filmmaking side, I find them more easy,
Right.
more easy to get people on board. I don't know why. Maybe it's the industry. There is more people working in film. I'm not sure what it is, but you know, the idea of a startup, it was more difficult. The evolution of the idea and how to communicate it, I find it more difficult than. But yeah, definitely.
Not as many plants behind you, but
No, I'm on this booth. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, you were saying about the sort of parallels between filmmaking skill set and movement. Could it be, you were saying that, you know, maybe not, but could it be that you find filmmaking a bit easier because generally stakeholders and people involved in filmmaking, you know, prioritize the fulfillment they get from an artistic perspective as opposed to maybe, you know, monetary or career driven fulfillment in the startup world? Could that be it, maybe?
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, probably. Yeah, you're right. Probably is that. Yeah, maybe also because they are on a short term normally, right? Because if you a film project can last, a couple of weeks, a month, 2 months. Instead of startup, you have to build a long term, probably relationship, right?
So it can kind of probably be this kind of like, well, what have I got to lose? kind of
it's much
attitude.
easier. Yeah, much easier.
Yeah.
Instead, looking for a co-founder, it's like get engaged kind of thing.
Yeah. I hear that a lot. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
So it's
and
a
also I
long-term
suppose there's just a desire in filmmaking to just want to be involved with as many projects as possible, because it's like that's what you do, right? Like that's why you're into it. It's like if an opportunity comes along, it's like hell yeah, give me an opportunity to do my work.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, look, I mean, what about sort of what's next on the horizon? So you've got the beta that's just launched. You mentioned the waiting list that's building up, and potential fundraising. So what are the next sort of priority steps that are taking place? Let's say in the next couple of months, then to get all these things to the next level for you.
Yeah. So at this stage, we are. I think we are looking for someone to come on board on the business development side. So to help us basically grow our base of client. So building up even more our waiting list. So to have as many brand as possible, so that we can launch the product successfully. We are also testing different channels, marketing channel, for to be able to focus on the most successful one. So in sense, the one that has more traction for our platform, and focus on the channel. So we did different tests on each of the channel. We will keep testing them. So SEO, business development, sales, viral marketing. We testing all of the channel, identify the most successful channel for our startup, and focus on that. So this is the plan. At the same time, our aim is to go into one of these accelerator. We are already in contact with Founder Factory, so they can they request us more letter of intent. So we are now close to have enough traction, and we will get back to them with an update pitch deck. So we looking forward to that, and that will lead us to have more funding, so finalizing the platform, onboarding more creator, and from there we aim to we aiming to have 100 brands in the next year. So that is what are the next step.
Yeah, and when's what cohort are you aiming for with Founder Factory? Is that for summer?
They actually don't I think they do it all the year, so they don't have cohort.
Oh, okay, right. It's fairly open then. Fair enough. Okay, and what was I was going to ask you something while you were talking there. Never mind, it's gone. So yeah, I mean, with regards to kind of where you guys are at now, what is it that what are the challenges, I guess, is kind of what I'm interested to know about. I mean, maybe even prior to that, during the process, you just explained to me over the last couple of years, because I think that's really important for people to hear about too. Right? What are those things that you struggle with? Oh, I just remembered the other question too, but I'll ask you that in a minute. Yeah, what are those challenges that maybe things that have surprised you the most that you wouldn't have expected to be challenges throughout your sort of founder journey?
Yeah, early traction is a big challenge, I think, especially when you don't have a product. So and you just speaking with people with a pitch deck. It's like really difficult, especially not coming from a tech background, and no, coming from any, let's say, business background. So it's really difficult. But I think big business school like Harvard, so it's challenging, but I think keep going and building and getting momentum. As soon also when you have a beta version is is really important. Even Elon Musk, I think he was saying in a speech about that, if you have a prototype, it's gonna make things completely different than speaking with a PDF. So that, in fact, now what I'm feeling that we are actually having much more easy traction, and things are coming together, right? After, long time of speaking, building, things are coming together. You will see more traction when we show the product, people are excited about. So it's coming together.
Yeah, I was going to ask that question that I remembered. You moved to the UK 2014. Did you say
2012?
2012. Sorry.
Yeah.
And so the reason this is more of a comment, I suppose, than a question, I suppose, in a way. But I hear a lot of founders talk about, when they haven't really been involved in the startup scene, as it were, that there's something of a culture shock. When you first go into it, there's this kind of whole subculture, this whole world of information overload and things like that. Did you find that was maybe slightly reminiscent of your initial landing in the UK from Italy, and then to sort of have to live here for all that time, and then suddenly experience like a second culture shock in some ways? Did you find that? Because I've heard that from people that have moved from other countries to the UK before, and then go on to be sort of entrepreneurs and startups. Did you find that as well?
What I felt is that you change a lot. You change a lot in this journey. I've been feeling that really a lot. Your mentality also changed from coming from Italy as well, and my background, and also learning a new language, coming in a completely new country. So there is a big change, and as you said as well, then coming into the tech and startup world, and there is a new change, and you feel again a bit the feeling sometimes is you restrict the circle of people that understand you because it is the mentality that you have to have is really I think you have to have an entrepreneur mindset that not everyone can achieve that if you don't study or you read a lot of books, and is then you realize that a small percentage of population can get a kind of that kind of entrepreneur mindset, and that is the journey that you experience, right?
It's not for everyone, for sure. Yeah, that's interesting what you said about sort of the people that you keep around you too. I hear that a lot, and often in these conversations I have, at some point the topic of loneliness comes up quite a lot, because I think it's very much associated with entrepreneurialism and foundership, because you end up going down a very unique path that friends and family often can't relate to. And there becomes this sort of space between you guys, and you're nodding your head, so I'm assuming you know what I mean by that.
Exactly. It's already when I decided left home, already there you have a big impact. You are alone in a new country, so and people, family as well don't understand. You just you are following your dream, but that comes with as you said, a bit of you are by yourself. So instead of being with your family or close. So yeah, it's been a long journey in that way as well. Yeah, and as you said, yes, it's difficult as well to explain to other people, your understanding, and express the way you see things. Yeah. So yeah, the risk that you are taking, that not everyone is they can take it, or they want to take it.
Most people don't have that sort of appetite for risk that founders have. Absolutely. Do you feel like you have a good support network around you though in the UK and back home in Italy? Like a good group of friends and people that
No, I have now built a good network of people, from friends, family. But yes, that is the point. As you grow, you're constantly growing, because that is the entrepreneur mindset. Also, your friends, they are constantly, you have to update them constantly, because it's then.
A friendly reminder to share this episode with your network, like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps the show and only takes a couple of minutes.
It's difficult to relate with them as well sometimes, because you are forward looking, and you feel a bit of but of course your friends, they still as well growing with you many times, because they see you
sometimes
grow.
but not all the time. I have some friends that I've known for years and years and years, and over the last sort of 5 or 6 years I just had to cut them off, because when I would speak to them, they would bring me down. And I was like, dude, I'm sorry, man. I just can't speak to you and hear you complain about your fucking job one more time. I've told you 1,000 times, do something about it, and you're not. So at this point in time, I now know you enjoy being in this position. So I can't do this anymore. I had to do that with some people. And I think that's reasonable. But you're right. There are other friends though that do. You grow together, right? Just like you would do in any good relationship. Ideally, you grow together, but that's not always the case, and that's fine. We all have to have our own journey to fulfill, right?
Yeah, no, I agree with what you're saying. That I also had to cut friendship, because also they stay back home, so it's a small city, and the mentality is there is a big gap on and they feel really frustrating sometimes, that cannot continue. The friendship, you need to move on.
I think it's this what frustrates me the most in people is them not realizing that they are in control of their destiny far more than they realize. No one's got 100% control over their lives, because we all influence one another. But just to understand that if something is not going the way you want it to, fucking do something about it. Just do something about it. It's not complicated. Just do something, and that's quite often what I would say to my friends. It's like, this isn't going right. And I'd say, okay, well, what are you going to do about it? That's it. It's simple,
But in fact, in entrepreneurship, one of the first things you learn is that you are responsible for your action. That is really important for entrepreneurship as well, right? So accountability. So you are
if something goes wrong, the first instinct isn't to go, fuck you all, this went wrong. It's to go, what did I do in that situation that made that happen? What could I have done better? Like, this is the entrepreneurial mindset, right? Straight away. And I think that's kind of ingrained in most entrepreneurs' personalities to begin with, to be honest. I think that's already probably been there for a very long time in those people's lives, in the way that they just see the world. So instead of being the victim, to just be like, what can I have done better? How can I improve as a person or as a professional or whatever, as a husband, as a wife, that's kind of the look, as opposed to it's everyone else's fault,
Yeah, but I think you also can learn. You probably have a predisposition, but you also, I think, learn that and train it as well, right? So
That's true.
Yeah,
it's a muscle, right?
Yeah, I think we are really, the neuroplasticity of our brain really can adapt, and I believe, we really became what we think we are, and what most people don't understand, that they attach to habit, and character that they hold on. They kind of make themselves, but the actual reality is that we can be what we want to. It just train your brain to be. And understand, some people say, no, I am like that, I like to, I am this way, and I'm not gonna be in different way. But that, I think, is, we understand now, probably, that is actually, we are really adaptable. We can be.
And I think that's a good point too, that you're absolutely right. But I think most people have this idea of what they are or who they are, and the reality is that you're probably not. But more importantly, it's never fixed, is it?
Exactly.
It's continuously changing. So how can you ever really know if there's always a bit of a delay in being able to understand yourself? Then you're always going to be behind. But to just say, this is me and this is the way I am, is the most dangerous thing to do, because it doesn't give you any opportunity to grow and get better. Like it's the equivalent of basically just saying, I'm perfect as I am and I have no need to improve. Which I don't know anyone that applies to, apart from myself, obviously. So yeah, that wouldn't be very useful. But I don't know. It's tough. It's not an easy experience to go through in general. I mean, I don't know why I was about to say as an entrepreneur, but let's be honest. I think as a human being, the human experience is fucking tough. It's not to say that entrepreneurs are some magical fucking creatures. We're no different. We're all in the same boat, all just trying to strive to be better human beings. I think that's all it is. It's not like it's anything other than that. I think it's just this appetite for risk that puts us in situations to try and do something with the skills we have. How can we implement them and how can we improve them and build something that no one else has done before? That's all it is. It's not, it's not magical, is it? Really?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And but it's exciting. It's exciting, and I think, to me as well, personally, give me understanding a lot of biases that we have as a human being, that I wouldn't understand before.
Really?
In the
Okay.
last couple of years, I really, but through reading a lot of books, they give me an understanding of reality and human being that before I wasn't aware, and I hope to continue this understanding. And I think we have, as a human being, a lot of biases that are they're limiting us to see the reality of things.
Yeah, 100%. Like, well, what kind specifically? What can you give me any examples that you kind of opened your eyes to?
We have many tendency that I need to think now one particular one, but we have many tendency to be influenced by the herd. They are kind of influence our example. If you're in a group or room, in a room of 10 people, and and someone of that is leading kind of an older people, or someone that has more influence over you, it will influence your judgment, even if you think that there was an experiment, I think, some times ago, that would really showing this thing, right? So we are really influenced by common thinking, and realizing that, putting in question that, because we got an instinct of survive. An instinct to survive, and living in a group, your instinct will be to survive. So you tend to agree to the group of people, because otherwise, if you say the truth, and the truth goes against the group of people, you're is in dangers of life, right? You are in danger of life. So this is why there is a name for these biases, but yeah, I don't remember exactly the name. Yeah. But you understand the concept, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I
probably didn't explain it perfectly, but
no, exactly what you mean. I studied sociology and group psychology, and did a lot of work with organizations over the years on group psychology, mostly to help organizations with creating teams that work most efficiently together based on personality profiles, etc., etc. It's hugely interesting topic. I know a number of books actually on the topic that I can recommend if anyone's interested. The Social Animal is one, for example. That's a hugely popular one. Talks about that exact thing that you're talking about, essentially the evolutionary biases that are within us, from millions of years worth of evolution designed specifically for our survival, that are still with us, that influence the way that we interact with one another. And it's very, very interesting. I mean, that's why there's that old saying, isn't there, in science and in psychology, a single person is vastly, is full of opportunity and potential and vastly intelligent. A group of people are just fucking morons. It's like I'm probably misquoting that, but it's something like that. But it's very true. I mean, to an extent, that the collective intelligence can diminish sometimes, emotionally and intellectually, when you bring people together in certain circumstances. But then in others, if you do it right, you can actually create some, where a situation where the group is worth more than the sum of its parts, and the output can be even higher than it would have been if it was just these individuals alone. And that's I suppose the most difficult challenge that a lot of leaders face, is that they know that when you put people together, you run the risk of actually diluting the potential individuals, as opposed to putting the right group of people together to accelerate everyone's potentials. And that's a very difficult thing to figure out, really. But yeah, it's a hugely interesting area.
Yeah. Another things that actually the other day I was watching a tech talk about entrepreneurship mindset, and they were saying different things I was already familiar with, but one in particular in the stack, it was that if you as an individual, you want to solve a problem, you have 40% chance of solving a problem. If you take someone like you, two of you want to solve a problem, you have a 52% chance of solving a problem. If you find someone completely opposite than you have 75% of solving the problem. So, and that is it's interesting, the fact of importance to put diversity into team work. That usually But if you think we have the biases of going towards someone like you, right? Someone they agree with you, someone that has your point of view, that thinks like you, but actually in a problem solving environment or in a teamwork environment is actually better the opposite. So understanding that is hugely important. Need maturity to understand that. Otherwise you just stay with people like you, and then
it's an echo chamber. Exactly. What I find fascinating about this topic is that this is very much the topic of our generation, right? Of our time, diversity. But the problem I have with it is it's been massively misunderstood, in my view. In what you just said there, I understand it for what it is. I understand exactly what you mean. But the way it's been interpreted is that it needs to be people who are complete opposite to your viewpoints, right? In every way, in every conceivable way, and must look different in order to be diverse. And that I find a huge problem with. Now, they might look different. It doesn't actually matter. What is important is they address the problem solving in a different way from you. And they can't be diverse in the way that they hold different values to you. That doesn't work. You can't get a group of, I can't get you and someone who has a completely different set of morality and cultural values to you and sit you both down and expect you to collaborate. That won't fucking work. Like, if you don't believe in the same fundamental things as the other person, you're going to clash. But if you have the similar basis of values and morality and culture, but you differ in the way that you solve problems or have a different opinion on how a problem should be solved, that's what we're talking about diversity. And it doesn't matter what gender you are, what sexual orientation you are, what color your skin is. What matters only is diversity of thought. That's it. And I think that's where people have really fucked everything up. Because we are now going so far, we are being more prejudiced by saying, no, you can't, Michael is white, he's from Italy, he has these sets of core values. So in order to make sure that his team is diverse, we need someone who is opposite in every single way. And that is basically saying you can't have anyone who is white, holds these values, and is from Italy, which is inherently racist and prejudiced. So I'm quite vocal on this topic. I find it very frustrating because I feel like it's the least intellectual way of interpreting your point, which is a very important point to problem solving, and collaboration. But it's being absorbed in such an infantile way. Do you know what I mean? Like, it frustrates me greatly. I don't know. Do you agree with much of that, or do you have different views? Like, what's your view? Because that's just my opinion. I could be wrong. I don't know.
What came to my mind is that I'm not sure. About your point. Since I agree with your point, but what came to my mind is that we are human beings, so we are all human beings. So there is an underlying that is the same. So is probably the way how we tap into this thing. So we are so the same, but we are so different. So it's difficult to say. What I mean? So you're saying, we cannot put people that are completely different, but we're never gonna be completely different. We are probably 99.99% the same.
Yes and no. I see what you mean, but I think that is, in some ways, it's dangerous to assume that everyone has the same set of values that you do. And this is what I mean by it. Like, you wouldn't. Okay, let's take a very like simple example. If you're working in a scientific field, let's say in bioengineering, let's say, and you're trying to solve a very complicated problem, well, you can't go out and just find any fucking idiot on the street and just say, what's your, we're struggling with this issue. So, you need to hold a certain set of core values that match, that are based in science. So first of all, they need to believe in scientific principles. They need to believe that science exists, that the earth is round, that you know what I mean? Like there needs to be those base principles. And this is what I mean, that when it comes even into a more simple example, like not as extreme as something as academic as science, but let's say, with what you're doing with Immerzo, there needs to be at least the base understanding that you agree that the problem is worth solving, that the people that you want to solve the problem for are worth helping, that it's an interesting emerging technology. Like, you know what I mean? There needs to be those base values and those base excitements. Because if you were to just get someone in who was like, I fucking hate the creator economy, I don't believe the metaverse is going to work, I think it's all a load of shit, I hate marketing, I hate capitalism, that isn't someone that you want an opinion from. I'm sorry. Like, it doesn't, you know what I mean? Like, you wouldn't want a Marxist fucking, like, you know what I mean? Like that doesn't, you are not going to find common ground, and therefore their opinion on helping you solve the problem is coming from the wrong place. Like, and so that's what I mean. Yes, we are all human, and we share a lot more in common than we don't. But those things need to be the same, because if you're just bringing them in because they're from a certain country, they have a certain skin color, or they have a certain gender, and you're ignoring that, you are going to destroy your company. You know what I mean? Like, and that's what's happening in a lot of places, unfortunately.
Great. And
does that
of course. Make complete sense.
Yeah, but otherwise, I absolutely agree with you. We have a lot more in common than we don't as human beings, for sure. Sure.
So, Gregory, one question for you then. So, what do you think about Immerso?
I love it. I think it's a great concept. And you look, like we've talked about. I think it's clear that I'm with you on your vision of how things are going to progress in this area massively, and it's only going to grow. The creator economy is growing. As you said, it's being democratized. The barrier for entry is being lowered all the time. We're going to see more and more people being able to control and create their own worlds. Like that's hugely exciting. And so I think it's the perfect time for something like this, for sure, 100%. And I'm sure there will be many more similar things that come up over the years, but the ones that are like yourself, that are able to get in there first, or at least early, and really have a high impact by being really closely aligned with the community, will do well. Like, there's just no doubt about it.
So what do you think is one thing that will contribute the success of Immerso?
Community. Yeah, just 100% community. Yeah, like, because when we look at the second, money. I mean, that's basically the two answers for any business, really. Like, if you're thinking about it, money helps businesses quite a lot, and don't hire any Marxists as well. It's generally not a good idea to hire Marxists in general. I mean, unless, of course, you live in a Marxist country, then maybe go ahead. But try and avoid it wherever possible. Also, I hear Nazis aren't very reliable employees as well. I think but I mean what I say about community. I think it's a hugely underrated thing for startups to focus on as early as possible, and you are doing that by building your waiting list and reaching out and putting them first. And I think that's so important, because 9 times out of 10, after a few years of launching any business, a competitor will come along, usually backed financially by unlimited cash by a huge company that just wants to capitalize on a trend, and it's soulless. And they don't focus on community. They just focus on product and trying to flip it as quickly as possible and make money to capitalize on something. And so if you as a business can focus on the people, on the user experience and putting them first and giving amazing levels of attention to the individuals and them, you will always win. And at the end of the day, content creators are themselves community focused. So it's I think the best way to align and grow any business these days, but especially if you're working with content creators as you are, I think it makes sense.
Great.
Yeah. So yeah, did that answer your question?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably more than answered your question. I tend to talk too much though. Well, look, we've got a couple of minutes left. So what I like to do is just get from you, and I know we've kind of talked about this a little bit already, but just for those that are listening that have made it this far, well done if you have. Congratulations on getting it this far into the episode. But yeah, what I like to do is just ask my guests, in this case it is you, what would your tips be to anyone listening who maybe has an idea, like you did a couple of years ago, and just needs to know where to start? What advice would you give them?
To do it.
Brilliant. All right. Well, look, it's been nice speaking to you. Thanks for coming.
Just do it.
Just do it. You've been working with Nike for too long. That's the problem.
Just do it.
Just do it.
Keep doing it, and keep learning, reading a lot, and adapting as well on your understanding, because it's gonna change. If you have this entrepreneurship mindset or this learning mindset, it will change. You have to adapt as well your idea. So keep adapting yourself. As I think most successful business have been doing, right? If you think, Twitter wasn't a social media platform on the first, PayPal the same, so they have been going
Amazon
through
was a bookshop.
Yeah, exactly.
Netflix sold DVDs,
so there's been an experimentation phase to adapt to the product as well. So I think keeping an open mind is also necessary, right? To adapt to this constant evolving world, right? Yeah.
It's like the famous quote, which I always forget who said it, but I think it was a founder who said you should always have a set of strong opinions, but held weakly. So they should be strong in their opinion, but don't hold on to them too tightly. Be willing to let them go when you need to. And I think that's pretty much what you're describing there, really, isn't it? It's be prepared to be don't be afraid to be challenged and change your thinking, but at the time when you do think it, go all the way.
Yeah, but at the same as you said, at the same time, you cannot always change. You had to understand that there is a long, it's not, so there is I think delay between our expectation and the reality. So understanding that is longer than what we think is gonna happen. So understand that and keep holding enough time that things happen. You have to go through all the experimentation phase, having the product. So changing too early is wrong as well. So that is the difficult thing, right?
Yeah.
So the right spot between holding enough time and be able flexible to change when there's right time. So it's a fine balance. It
is, and I think a lot of people find that kind of contradictory, but there's no other way to explain it. And I think the only way you would really ever know when something is the right time is when you feel it, and you will feel it, and that's it. So the only way to know is by doing it, basically.
Yeah, but I don't think not feeling, because in the way to bring it, you will feel it many times, I think.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's just that.
Well, and I suppose then in that case, it's probably all the more reason to try and surround yourself with people who actually give a shit about you and give a shit about your idea, because they're the ones that are going to tell you it's time to let this go or we should keep going. And you need to have people you can trust, right?
Yeah, probably data as well. We should
right. Yeah, that's true.
Data, having a clear justification of your action through different data point probably would be the best decision, understanding. In fact, I went through many times through a spreadsheet through the feasibility of my business, in sense, because sometimes it's really difficult. So we are doing something that probably doesn't exist, it's new, so you have times where it's difficult to keep going, and you're saying, so I went back, put on a spreadsheet, so with all the data they accumulate through the time, and understanding if what I'm doing it was feasible. Do I have enough traction to that keep going? So putting a spreadsheet with all the the different pro and cons, or traction, no traction. So as many data point, and comparing that with also other ideas as well, right? So
yeah, sometimes just having that black and white sort of approach can remove the emotion out of things a bit more and make it a bit more of a logical decision. And I suppose in some ways, going back to my point about community, I think this is again why community is so useful and important for startups these days, is because they are a great opportunity to be able to put things out and get things back as well. Like I often work with a lot of founders, as you know, and they have built communities over the years, and it's great as to be like even something as simple as just being like, what should my pricing be? I'm like, ask your community. Just fucking ask them. Just like, these are some ideas for pricing. What do you guys think? Like, if you're not sure, that you put in the work, get something out of it. They're the ones that are going to use it. You can bounce so many things off them and save you a lot of time of overthinking, where they might just turn around and go, no, absolutely not. And you go, oh, brilliant. I was going to spend 6 months thinking about that. So thank you. You just saved me a ton of time, so. Yeah, there's some good tips, some really good tips, I think, that are really important for people to hear. So look, I'll let you go. We've come to time already, which it always goes very, very quickly. But I thank you so much for taking the time.
Thanks to you as well. It was super pleasure speaking to you. Hopefully we will catch up soon again.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I look forward to it. And next time in London, maybe we'll meet in an event. I do go to a couple of every now and then. In fact, there's one at the end of this month I'll be going to. So if you're around, maybe we'll meet up. But otherwise, we'll definitely be doing this again. Maybe next time in the Metaverse. Who knows?
Yeah, exactly. We actually should do it.
Yeah, I think that'd be great. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. All right, cool. Well, look, lovely. Thank you so much. And like I said, all your details will be down in the description, so people can check you out and follow along on your journey. But have a wonderful week, and we'll speak soon.
Thank you very much.
Cheers. Take
care.
Ciao.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Ciao.
Thank you for listening and/or watching. Please like and subscribe and join in the conversation in the comments below.